And more tariffs could mean more trouble for Iowa farmers. The latest rates with China means that some of the state's biggest ag exports could be staying at home and could be costing farmers a lot of money.
President Trump's trade war is affecting America's ports. Container shipment bookings are down nearly 50% from a year ago.
As of mid-2025, U.S. agricultural exports are facing a sharp downturn, particularly in key crops like soybeans, corn, and wheat. According to the USDA's Outlook for U.S. Agricultural Trade report, exports to China have dropped by $1.3 billion compared to the previous fiscal year, driven largely by falling demand for American soybeans, grains, and cotton. Most strikingly, China has not placed any new orders for U.S. soybeans or corn since January 16, 2025, according to Agriculture.com citing USDA trade data. This marks a dramatic pause from what was once the United States' largest agricultural trading partner. Industry analysts are calling it the most prolonged lapse in Chinese grain imports since the early 2000s. Soybean contract volumes have plummeted, and corn exports are down significantly, though precise year-to-date percentages vary by market. Wheat, already struggling with global oversupply and competitive pricing from Eastern Europe, has seen a steep decline in global demand, with some U.S. producers reportedly idling capacity due to lack of export activity. The result, millions of tons of grain are sitting in silos across the Midwest, waiting for buyers who no longer seem to be coming. And for many farmers, especially those locked into 2024 planting contracts, the 2025 season has turned from a question of profit to one of survival. Across America's Farm Belt, frustration is turning into legal and political action. In Iowa, Illinois, and Kentucky, states deeply tied to U.S. grain exports, groups of farmers have filed lawsuits with the U.S. Court of International Trade challenging the legality of new tariffs imposed without congressional approval. The legal argument centers on whether emergency executive powers were overextended in applying sweeping trade measures that now threaten rural livelihoods. These farmers are not political activists. They are growers, debt carriers, and business owners trying to survive. As one farmer put it, "We're not trying to make headlines. We're trying to keep our land and pay next season's bills." Beyond the courtroom, the pressure is felt daily in rural diners and grain elevators, where conversations no longer revolve around rainfall or yield projections. Instead, farmers discuss loan extensions, land auctions, and whether they might be the last generation to farm. The mood is cautious, weary, and increasingly uncertain. This isn't just about policy, it's about identity. Generations of agricultural families are now facing a moment they never imagined: a future where exports vanish, prices crash, and the land they fought to keep may not be theirs much longer. What was once a political issue is now deeply personal and, for many, existential. At the root of the current farm crisis is a trade strategy that was supposed to protect American producers, but is now starting to hurt them instead. In early 2025, the U.S. implemented a sweeping round of tariffs ranging from 30% to as high as 145% on imports of steel, aluminum, agricultural machinery, and key industrial parts, many of which are essential for modern farming operations. As a result, the cost of fertilizer equipment repairs and new machinery has surged, squeezing farmers already facing thin profit margins. With many inputs manufactured abroad or assembled using imported parts, the price hikes are being felt directly on the farm, turning what should be a productive growing season into an uphill financial battle. Meanwhile, former trading partners such as China, Canada, and Mexico have responded not just with retaliatory tariffs, but with new purchasing relationships elsewhere. Grain and oilseed contracts that once went to the U.S. are now flowing to Brazil, Argentina, and Australia, countries not caught in tariff crossfire, and often able to offer more competitive prices. In global trade, loyalty is rare. When buyers find reliable, cheaper alternatives, they don't return out of sentiment, they stay where the math makes sense. For U.S. farmers, this means that lost markets may not come back even if tariffs are lifted down the line. The current strategy promised resilience and independence, but on the ground it feels like isolation, and for many producers, that distinction is more than just words. It's a matter of survival. What's unfolding across America's agricultural heartland isn't just about weather or yield, it's a breakdown in the systems that move food from field to market. As grain exports continue to stall and global demand weakens, storage silos across the Midwest are reaching capacity. In some regions, warehouse leasing costs have reportedly quadrupled since early 2024 as crops pile up with nowhere to go. Meanwhile, shipping ports are operating below capacity, and rail cars meant to carry grain to terminals are sitting idle, victims of a supply chain with nothing left to transport. But the disruption doesn't stop there. The same policy-driven price hikes that raised export barriers are also hitting the inputs farmers rely on. Fertilizer deliveries have slowed, tractor parts are backordered, and pesticide shipments are increasingly delayed due to logistics bottlenecks and elevated import tariffs. This isn't a crisis caused by drought pests or failed harvests. It's a system choked by its own policy miscalculations where excess crops sit unshipped, essential supplies arrive late or overpriced, and the flow of agriculture is blocked from both ends. For many farmers, the frustration isn't just about prices, it's about a deeper sense that the very infrastructure they depend on is no longer built to support them. Behind the numbers and trade disputes lies a quieter, more painful crisis, one that's harder to measure, but deeply human. Across rural America, calls to mental health hotlines have surged, with rural support networks reporting an uptick in crisis-level calls from farmers and their families. In regions where agriculture is a way of life, the weight of financial loss, uncertainty, and generational pressure is taking a growing emotional toll. At a local farming co-op in the Midwest, an elderly farmer reportedly broke down in tears, admitting, "I might have to sell the land before my grandson even finishes high school." His story is not unique. Conversations in small-town cafes and supply shops now drift toward unthinkable decisions: selling land that's been in the family for generations, delaying retirement, or walking away from farming altogether. In farming communities, land isn't just real estate, it's legacy. It's what's passed down, not sold off. But in 2025, that legacy is under threat not just from tariffs or bad seasons, but from a deep erosion of hope. This is no longer just an economic downturn. It's a crisis of spirit, a moment when people who once took pride in feeding the world are now wondering if they'll be the last to do it. In response to mounting pressure from rural states, Congress is currently debating a new $20 billion farm aid package, similar in structure to the 2018 relief program designed to offset losses from the previous U.S.-China trade war. But this time, the mood among farmers is different and far more skeptical. The proposed aid aims to cushion financial losses caused by disrupted exports and rising production costs. Yet many producers argue that direct payments cannot replace lost markets, especially those as large and strategic as China. "Money doesn't buy back market share," one farmer said. "Once it's gone, it's gone." At the same time, new trade agreements are being pursued with the UK and India, offering potential export opportunities for certain U.S. products like beef, corn, and specialty crops. However, early estimates suggest that even in the best-case scenario, these deals won't come close to replacing the volume and pricing power that China once represented. For many in the agriculture sector, the math simply doesn't add up. Relief packages may provide short-term breathing room, but they do little to address structural problems in trade access, supply chain fragility, and long-term competitiveness. As one policy analyst put it, this isn't just about plugging a hole, it's about realizing the ship may be drifting off course entirely. For many farmers in 2025, this isn't just a bad season, it's a fundamental shift in how survival is measured. The uncertainty surrounding trade policy, equipment costs, and federal support has pushed producers into a mindset of caution and micro-decisions. Should they repair that tractor or wait, plant a full crop or scale back, hire seasonal help, or try to manage with family labor? In farming, timing is everything, and right now everything feels like a gamble. Machinery sales are plummeting. According to industry reports, tractor sales dropped 16% and combine sales fell nearly 80% year-over-year in January 2025. Dealers cite the same concern: farmers are waiting, delaying, holding their breath, not because they want to, but because they feel they have to. This is more than economics, it's a breakdown of confidence. The farming economy is no longer sustained by planning and productivity. It's propped up by uncertainty, with producers watching Washington more than they watch the weather. In a system where each policy decision can shift the entire playing field, agriculture is no longer driven by soil or seed, but by headlines and hesitation. And for many, that reality feels more unstable than any storm. If the American farmer, the person who feeds the nation, can no longer make a living, then who will be left standing? This isn't just a story about trade policy or rural economics or bad seasons. It's about survival, it's about identity, and it's about what kind of future we're willing to fight for. Share this video if you believe farmers deserve more than silence. What do you think about the future of American agriculture? Comment below, because this isn't just the farmer's story.